Hey guys, how are you doing? Hopefully you will all see us in a few moments and I'll be able to see your comments and your chat and your questions down here. So I hope you are all doing well. I thought it'd be nice because I know this group has started growing really fast. It's been around for a while, this group, but I've noticed that a lot of people have joined in the last month or so, and I thought it'd be really cool to kind of just chat to you, introduce ourselves, let you know who we are, what we do, what we can help you with. Hi Karen, how are you doing? Yeah, I just got your message actually. We can chat about that. I would be very happy to talk to anyone about CreateSpace because CreateSpace is super awesome. So for those of you who are kind of new to the group and new to our groups in general, I thought I would say hello. My name is Catherine Shelton. This is my
Isaac.
Partner, husband, business associate, graphic designer, in-house technology expert, tech support, and everything. And just generally a cool person with blue hair. That's Isaac.
Hi.
See, you went too soon, Isaac. You jumped in and you were like, I'm Isaac, hi. And really, I hadn't finished like bigging you up and doing the whole sort of like big introduction. But I thought Isaac could come along and offer his thoughts and wisdom because he is a graphic designer and a web developer and just knows a lot of awesome things. And I know I was looking through the questions you guys were asking, and I know there was some questions about illustrations and how you bring illustrations into CreateSpace. So I thought Isaac could help with that. So hi Melinda, how are you doing too? So for those of you who don't know what we do, I have several Facebook groups. Our main one is actually called Treasure Hunting, and it's about reselling. It's basically about making money, selling on Amazon, selling on eBay, finding cool stuff and selling it. From there, we kind of branched off into digital inventory. So things like making books, making coloring books, t-shirts, like all the things you can think of that you can sell without actually having to handle physical product. So for me, I feel CreateSpace kind of fits into that mold because although you are making physical books, all that you're really working on is the digital files. So my background is primarily in, I guess, marketing, in selling things on Amazon, understanding how Amazon, their search rankings, their algorithms, all of that stuff, how that works. That's kind of where I come from. And also social media marketing. Isaac's tech guy, graphics guy, designer, like all of the cool stuff. That's your thing. So hopefully between us, and also I like to write. I write lots. I'm working on some writing at the moment myself. I used to write a lot more. I used to write plays particularly, and that was kind of my thing, sort of writing plays for performance and just that sort of thing. Yeah. So I love writing, and I'm kind of with you guys on writing as well. So that's us. Oh my gosh, I'll show you guys some of the things that people in my classes have made for CreateSpace because it's pretty awesome. One of the ones I love, our friend, student Jordan made this book based off a movie that is in the public domain called Manos, the Hands of Fate. And I think it's like a B movie. And he hired an artist to work with him on making, just basically telling the story of Manos. And I think these are pretty awesome. So that's one of the books.
It's a cult classic. It's considered one of the worst movies of all time.
Wow,
and so,
that's harsh.
Right, it's a horror movie. I think Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh yeah, so there was a cool story about this. Yeah. So Jordan put out this book, and he actually got a call from MST3K who said, would you like to include your book as part of our reunion? They had a parties, big Kickstarter project, Kickstarter, everything. So he was super successful with that. We had another lady, I know she's in this group, she's just a rock star, Sasha O'Hara, and she put out these also a bunch of amazing coloring books. I'm checking because they might like my love for you burns stronger than my UTI. There's some classy stuff in here, but I love her book. She has been just immensely successful. She pretty much had the first sweary coloring book, and with that book she got into the top 10 of books on Amazon. I think she got to number
Pretty
6
amazing. Yeah.
in books, like not in any subcategories, but in books. She beat Harry Potter for a while. Like, it was absolutely incredible.
The other cool thing about that book, we were actually at the Amazon store, the physical store.
Oh yeah, and we
La
saw it
Jolla,
on the shelves.
Yeah, we're in Southern California, and yeah, we saw it on the shelf. It was right by the cashier stand. So it was really awesome.
It's pretty awesome, and she published it entirely with CreateSpace, which is just amazing. And what I love about what we're all doing is that I feel we are taking on the big guys like Random House and Penguin and all the big publishers. Those guys are super, super slow. Like, I was looking into getting a book published through one of them, and they're like, well, we'll take a couple of months to review it, and then we'll take a couple of months to like work with our distributors. And it's like, who's got time for that? Like, who's got time for that? 2 months, I will write you a new book. Like, if I have to wait 2 months for you guys to look at my book, I will write you another book. I can, like, no, it's too slow. So
self-publishing
I am a big fan of self-publishing. We've also been doing a lot of like stationary books. Like, this is just a little book we made kind of based off the whole bullet journal, the dot grid phenomenon. And we made some, you can't really see because it's kind of faint, but these are like dot journals. And we did this with public domain art. We've been doing, what else do we do? Like composition books is another thing we've been using CreateSpace for. And this is what's awesome about CreateSpace. Like, I think people think, okay, CreateSpace, you've got to be a writer, you've got to be an author, you've got to actually sit and write a whole book. You can publish a book in a day, in an hour. Really like, we made a bunch of composition books, and you can just put, because if you have like the template for the interior, you can just publish them really, really quickly. And we used InDesign. We used Adobe InDesign to make lined paper. And you can also do graph paper, and sort of isometric paper has been one of the really successful books we did. So there's a lot of different ways to publish books without having to write a book. So we've done a bunch of different things. We made journals. We did one journal all about mansplaining, which I thought was pretty funny. We did a mansplaining journal. Like, we do a lot of different books and have a lot of fun with them. And a lot of our students have had a lot of fun with CreateSpace. So it's something we're really excited about. What I noticed sort of looking in this group, I feel like the big challenge a lot of you guys are having, like the pain point, is how do you get people to see your books and buy your books? And I know a lot of authors are like, I mean, here's the problem. When you're an author, you put your heart and soul into a book. Like, you really, you're so absorbed in the world of your book, and you create this beautiful book, and you expect, like, okay, everyone, if they know what my book is about, if they see my book, they will love my book. It is the best book ever. And you put all this work into it. And then the problem is, you like upload it to Amazon, or you put it on Ingram, or however you're going to publish your book. And then you're sad because it doesn't automatically get a bunch of sales, and you're like, no, what's happening? Why don't people recognize my greatness?
Right.
And I think it's really demoralizing for authors. Yeah. And I think the problem is, a lot of authors, a lot of artists in general, and creative people aren't marketers. And I feel you on this, because like, although I guess I'm a marketer, I kind of don't like marketing. I like to help people. I like to be honest with people, and I like to sell them things that they're really going to want and really going to enjoy. So sometimes, and I think also you can kind of get bitten by imposter syndrome as well. When you try and sell something, you're like, oh, I'm just,
it's like an interview that never ends.
Right. You're always trying to prove yourself. So it can, and I think that can be kind of stressful when you're an author, and because I think you put so much of yourself into a book. I think you're right. It's like the interview thing, but if you want to sell your book, you have to involve other people. And it has to become, and I think when you're writing a book, it's very much about you and about your feelings and your thoughts. But when you sell the book, it really has to be about other people. Yeah. And I think that's a really big challenge for authors, is how do you find your tribe? Like, where are the people who will enjoy your book? And the thing is, if you have a good idea for a book, there's 300 million people on Amazon, 300 million buyers on Amazon. That's a lot of people. So if you have a book that is worth reading, your readers are on Amazon. So how do you find them? How do you sort of reach out to them? Well, I think the first thing with Amazon is that you need to make sure. Hi, Amy. Hope you are doing really, really well. Nice to see some familiar people. I see Amanda there as well. Hi, Amanda. Hope you guys are all doing well. And Jessica. I don't know if I said hello to Jessica. But yeah, on Amazon, your key thing is that you, first of all, have to make it so that people can find your book. And the only way you really have on Amazon of making sure people find your book is through keywords in your description. I know CreateSpace, I think it gives you 5 tags now for your book, and Kindle gives you 7 tags. So you do have those tags, but your main chance of getting people to find you is actually probably your title. The title of your book really, really needs to have your keywords in it. So the first thing you need to do when you publish a book is think about what your ideal readers, what they are likely to be searching for on Amazon, what kind of topics they're searching for, what kind of keywords they're searching for. And what I tend to do is I'll often use a subtitle. So like, I don't know, I might do like the Mansplain Journal and then call it like a feminist humor book, something like that, because then that gives me some extra keywords in the title. It doesn't just give me mansplain, because very few people are actually going to go and search the word mansplain on Amazon. Instead, they're going to be like, okay, my friend, it's her birthday or it's Christmas. She's a huge feminist. She went marching in Washington wearing a pussy hat, and she's like, that's her thing. She's like really into this. So what can I give her for Christmas? They're likely to type in like feminist humor, feminist comedy, something like that. And then they'll find your book. Like most people, and I think where a lot of authors go wrong, first of all, is just using their basic title. And the title may be something kind of obscure that has no real relation to the book. And it might be super artistic and super interesting and a super clever title, but it won't get your book found. So my first tip, I think, is put a subtitle in, because title is the best real estate for getting your book found. So make sure you have some keywords in your subtitle at least. Also, you've got the description of your book as well. So you can definitely put keywords into the description of your book too. So that's the first thing, is making sure your book is findable. Another thing is actually doing keyword research to figure out what your potential readers are looking for. We've made keyword software, but you can actually just use Ubersuggest is a really, really good tool. Ubersuggest.io. If you look there, you can actually get a list of the kind of things people are searching for. So I don't know, if you're writing sort of science fiction, just type in science fiction there, and it will give you the niches. It will give you like science fiction for women, science fiction LGBT, science fiction Christian. Like there are niches within science fiction, and it really helps to get an idea of what people are looking for, because then you kind of know what keywords to use, because that's the kind of thing people are searching for. People go to Amazon and they're not going to type like, I don't know, let's say that your book is called sort of Explosion on Planet Mars. Very few people who are looking for sci-fi who haven't heard about your book are going to type in explosion or Planet Mars. Instead, they might have a niche in mind, like I want Christian science fiction, and that's what they're going to type in. So you need to make sure you have those keywords in the description of your book. So that's the first thing with Amazon, is making sure that your book is actually findable. And like I see so many authors, the first thing I'm like, okay, how is anyone going to find your book? They don't have the keywords to find it. Thank you, Amy. She's given a shout out to Tangent, which is actually our software that does have keywords. So it gives you a lot of keyword suggestions in there. So what was I talking? Findable. Okay, so then the second part of just making sure your book is found is having an awesome cover. Like really what you need. So think about how people browse on Amazon. They get a little thumbnail. When they're browsing books, they're just going to see a thumbnail of your book. And you need to make your cover bright, awesome, and eye-catching. And have like maybe a picture of people on the front, maybe have something like a focal point, something that really catches their eye. And it's interesting because I was just looking in the CreateSpace group and someone posted their cover. And I thought, well, if you use Canva, for example, I love Canva. Like I use Canva for everything. If you go to canva.com, you can actually create a book cover in there really, really easily that will look really nice. You just go to layouts and scroll through the layouts, and you can use those as your cover for your book. And you can come up with something really quick and really nice looking in a very short space of time. And one thing I would say, run away from the CreateSpace template covers because they suck. They really are not attractive, and they say I'm self-publishing this book. It doesn't look like a real book. So run away from the CreateSpace templates. Always use the one, I've forgotten what it's called. Is it the spruce or the palm?
And spruce, yeah.
Right, just use the palm or the spruce. Those are the only templates you need.
Yeah, you might want to back up a little bit.
Right.
So when you're putting a cover on CreateSpace, you have two options. You can upload a PDF with the cover completely designed, or you can go through their template cover creation system. Mm-hmm. And there, when you select that, you have a collection of like 20 different templates to choose from. Two of them, which is the spruce and the palm, they allow you to upload your own image. So they take care of the basic book template stuff, like they'll put the title on the binding, right. And then also they'll put the barcode in the back, all necessary stuff for the book. But you're allowed to. So
I mean, it's the difference between something like that. Like that's a full design that we made using, I think, is it the palm?
The palm.
The palm template, which allows you to upload the whole cover like that, the whole front picture. And I think the other one, the spruce, lets you have a cover on the back as well. Yeah. But really, that is just what I do. Is I use the basic. I make my own covers like that, or Isaac makes. Yeah. You do most of the covers. Yeah. Isaac uses Illustrator, I think, primarily.
No, Photoshop. Photoshop. I do use Illustrator, but primarily with CreateSpace, I use Photoshop because ultimately you're uploading a JPEG.
So Isaac makes his covers in Photoshop. I use Canva because I can't. I just use my own photos, and I use Canva because I'm not a designer. So
it's for lazy designers that don't want to open up Photoshop.
Right, but I think this is the cool thing is that you can make a professional looking cover without. And I mean, if you look at CreateSpace, they're like they offer you a cover design service that's like $800 or something. I can't remember how much it is, but it's way too expensive when you can just whip up a cover in Canva in like 5 minutes. Yeah. So that's another tip. So first thing, make sure your book is findable. Second thing, make sure your book is appealing and attractive. So your photo, your thumbnail image is the first thing people are going to see. Then they're going to see inside. So having think about the first few pages of your book. Think about what you would like people to see in the see inside. So if you can make your table of contents really enticing, so people go, wow, without giving everything away, especially if it's a non-fiction book. Like this is a big problem. If you publish a non-fiction book, you don't want people to just go down the table of contents and go, oh, that's what they do. You want it to be kind of enticing and lead them in. So you have to kind of have the air of mystery with it as well. But think about the first few pages. What would really sell your book to people who are just browsing through that see inside and just taking a look at the see inside? So that's the second thing on making your book appealing. And then the third thing for making your book appealing is the description. So that's where you can really sort of put your blurb and make it like all the stuff that you would put on the back of your book that draws people in, put that there in the description. So the first thing, make sure your book is findable. Second thing, make sure it is appealing so that people really look at it, they see the thumbnail image, and they go, yeah, that sounds like a really intriguing book. And everything you have to do with it is about intrigue, like what will draw people in enough that they will want to buy it. So I know there were some questions. Let's have a look at these questions. A couple of you were asking about children's books, and I thought that was really interesting. You're talking about marketing children's books. Oh, and Natalie was asking about pricing on children's books as well. And one thing I think is really interesting with children's books is that I think if you have something unique and exclusive in terms of children's books, you can sell it at a premium. Like I've bought some really expensive books for my kids because they were really nice or special or interesting books. Now, normally that might mean like a hardback book or a coffee table book. But I think if you have an interesting topic that's unique, like for example, I think about what's the book about? There's a book about a penguin. It's like a gay penguin. No, the penguin has two dads. So I've forgotten what it's called. There's a children's book about a penguin. And it's based on a true story, I think, from Brooklyn Zoo. And the baby penguin was adopted by two male. It's called And Tango Makes Three. That's the name. It's called And Tango Makes Three. And it's about a baby penguin that's adopted by two male penguins, and they make like a happy family. And it's based on a true story of a pair of male penguins that they actually gave a baby penguin to, and they took care of it. And it's like a real story. Isn't that sweet? Now, people like that kind of book, you will sell it. You will sell it really, really well, and you will sell it at a higher price because there are very few books that got so much attention. And that have that niche, that sort of the two dads niche, and that are done so well and so cutely.
Yeah, and it kind of it tapped into a zeitgeist for in this era, I guess, the past few years.
Right. So yeah. I mean, Amy just said it's like it's a niche. It's all about the niche. So if you can make a book that actually fits certain niches, like LGBT or certain religious niches, or certain interests, like a lot of families maybe, like, I don't know, like you're obsessed with virtual reality. Mm-hmm. So I bet if you did like a book, if I published a children's book about like an 8-year-old who goes on a trip in virtual reality, and it has pictures of him like with the wands and the mask on and things like that, you would totally buy that for Sid, our son. Our son Sid is obsessed with virtual reality. So, I mean, I could totally see, like, if you were looking for a Christmas present for Sid because you're obsessed with virtual reality, if you saw a kid's book about virtual reality, you would go, I got to buy that book for Sid. And the chances are there aren't many novels written about virtual reality for 8-year-olds. However, like, dads will buy that stuff in a heart, and it's actually mums and dads that are making the choices. So when you write your children's book, when you're thinking about what to put in your children's book, it's really about what mums and dads want to give to their children, the kind of subjects they want to give them.
And if I was to take it one step further, I would maybe add fidget spinner, bottle flipping, dabbing, everything else that an 8-year-old does for 2017.
You should do this. Why haven't you made this book? This is a great idea. And I think this is a problem for a lot of authors is like, where do you find that balance? Because I know we did a poll in the group the other day, and we said, do you write for fun for yourself, or do you write 100% for an audience as a business? And I think a lot of authors naturally, when you start writing, you write what you want to write. You write what's in your heart, and you write about maybe your childhood or something that happened to you, or maybe a world that you're obsessed with. And that can be super awesome if it's a niche. But I think you have to find what's appealing in your story to other people. So while you're like, okay, this is a great story, it's got all this stuff about my childhood and about this. Like, I mean, I would have to, like, if I wrote about my childhood, I'd be thinking, okay, so I grew up on a small island. My house was next to a lighthouse. I might think about whether that would appeal to people who are fans of that island. And I could sell it to people who like the location and go, oh, yeah, I visited Alderney once, so I'm interested. Or I love lighthouses. So I would be looking at how I could actually put my book, even though it's really the story of my childhood, it's like my biography, I would be looking at how I can make that biography, what are the hooks in that biography that would appeal to other people. So I'd be thinking, well, lighthouses, remote islands. I mean, the island I grew up in was involved in like World War II. It was occupied during the war. So I might look at that and say, okay, well, maybe I can sell it to sort of World War II aficionados. And from there, I mean, I would also look at sort of like books that have also been popular in that genre, like the Guernsey potato peels. Like, I'm from Guernsey and Alderney, so I'd be looking at like, okay, there's the Guernsey potato peel book that became huge. It was like a big bestseller. Is there a way I can sort of have my book displayed alongside that? So you're looking, you've kind of got to get outside of yourself. Once you've got your book written, you have to sort of jump outside of yourself and look at it and say, okay, what are the hooks in this that will appeal to other people? And I think sometimes it might be interesting to actually write down all the subjects, maybe flick through the pages and write down the subjects that are on the pages. So like island, train, lighthouse, war, fortifications, sea, and all of those things, and then see what in that will appeal to other people and how you can reach those other people. And then, of course, that's the next bit of the equation. And that's really where kind of I get excited about things is, once you've got your book on Amazon, you've got your keywords optimized, you've got your niche optimized, you've got your pictures optimized, what do you do next? And the next bit is really find your tribe. So once you start analyzing, okay, who is my book likely to appeal to? Where are you going to find them? And the great thing with the internet now is there are a lot of places where people hang out. You've got Facebook, Facebook groups, there's Reddit, although Reddit's a horrible place to market to people. It tends to not go well when people try and sell there. But if you have something legitimate to share, then that's awesome. There's Tumblr, there's a lot of professional forums, there's LinkedIn. I've started using SlideShare actually to market to people on LinkedIn. So there are a lot of ways of reaching your audience. But the key thing is like, where do my audience hang out? How am I going to find them? And what message am I going to give to that audience? And I think with CreateSpace, honestly, with books, I found that paid adverts, you will probably lose money. Like it tends to be a bad idea to run a lot of Facebook ads or CreateSpace ads because, sorry, not CreateSpace books, CreateSpace ads, I meant Google ads. It tends to get really expensive running Facebook and Google paid ads for books. You probably won't, unless you are a genius and you've come up with some level of genius promotion, you probably won't make your money back on those adverts. What I find is a better idea is building communities, or at least connecting with communities. I mean, like, for example, we have this CreateSpace group that's kind of growing as a community, and we have several other communities. And I find that by building a community, you can share not only your book, but your whole brand. Like you have a whole other thing going on that's not just your book. Or you can connect with people like influencers. I know it's called like influencer marketing. You can really connect with people who might have some relation to your book. So like thinking back to my idea about the sort of the growing up on an island and the lighthouse and thing, I bet you could find a lot of Facebook groups about World War II or about lighthouses or about islands, like Channel Islands. And I could go to those Facebook groups and say, talk to the admin there and say, hey, I've got this book. Would you like to do a giveaway in your group? It'll give you something nice to do with your group. It'll be some engagement for your group. It'll be something that makes your group stronger. And it brings attention to my book. And the great thing is if the admin sort of goes along with it and says, cool, yes, I would like to run a giveaway for your book, then that, like everyone who enters will now have a little grain of investment in your book. They'll be like, wow, maybe I'll win that book. Cool, that'd be exciting. Then they don't win and you go, well, never mind. Here's a coupon or here's a promotion or here's how you can go and buy the book. And it's a great way of putting your book in front of a lot of people. And the great thing with giveaways, the first thing is keep them really, really simple. And it's funny because this came up in one of our groups a couple of days ago. And a lady said, well, I'm running a giveaway in a really big group. And she said, the problem is it's just not getting much engagement. And it was because it was really complicated. It was like, okay, you've got to go and like my Facebook page. Then you've got to like give me a number 1 and 10. You've got to tell me which book you want to win. And I mean, she'd really thought it through. But the problem with Facebook is people need everything really, really simple. So all you do to run a giveaway is say, hey, I've got this great book to give away. Just comment, yes, please, if you want it. And then everyone says, yes, please. And the great thing is, as soon as you start getting that engagement and people saying, yes, please, Facebook's algorithm looks at that and goes, wow, there's like 10 different people have commented on this thread. It must be a great thread. And they push that visibility so it shows up on everyone's timelines. And then everyone in the group starts seeing it. Like I always find when I do a really simple post that says, hey guys, just say yes if you would like to know more about this. And everyone starts saying yes. The engagement in that thread grows really fast because the more people that comment, the more visible it becomes. So it kind of is like a snowball effect. So run giveaways in groups for your book. It's a really powerful way. And then the great thing is when you get to the end of the giveaway and everyone's commented, you can come back in on the end of the thread and say, thanks so much everyone for participating. You can find out more about my book here, and you can post a link to your book, and you can put a little bit of blurb there, and you'll catch everyone who said yes please. So it's a great way to sort of run a very simple giveaway like that. Yeah, so I think I'm sort of just talking about, there are really a million ways to market your book. I know also a lot of you have asked, I think there was a question about sort of brick and mortar stores. One thing that is a really good tip is look for buyers in bookstores or gift stores or whatever your book is. So for example, I don't know, my book, my hypothetical biography, like I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking, what kind of stores could I sell that in? Museum gift shops, maybe. Like one child's memories from a wartime island or something like that. Like I could totally talk to museum gift shops about something like that, or historical societies, maybe British organizations. Like I know, yeah, in Balboa Park, they have the House of England. Yeah. And so if I wrote a biography about sort of a transition from England to the US, that would be the sort of place that could stock my book. So one great tip is to make a list of places that you think would sell your book. Like, where would your book be relevant? Once you've got that, find the buyers. Find the buyers for those places, whether it's a museum or a gift shop or an art gallery, a hotel. I mean, if you write a book about health and wellness, think of all the hotel spas. Think of all the sort of beautician places, yoga studios, all of those places. And you can really create a list of all these places and then find the buyers for them. Go on LinkedIn and look for who the buyers are. There's some really random emojis floating around. I saw like everything. I saw like a wow and a heart and I saw a little angry face. So I'm sorry if I made you angry. I hope I didn't. So yeah, find buyers. That's another big tip. You can go on LinkedIn, find out who the buyers are for the place that you're thinking of selling your book to or offering your book to, and you can totally contact them through somewhere like LinkedIn and send them a little introduction and say, this is my book. I hope it might be relevant to you guys. Let me look. So there was another question. This is your question, Isaac. Someone said, Kelsey, she said, I would love some info on the best way to get hand-drawn illustrations into CreateSpace. And Natalie said, oh my goodness, me too. And a couple of people, that it sort of went on, she said you can scan them in or photograph them. The scanner washed mine out, so I'm trying to photograph them next time. So Isaac, what are your tips for getting a hand-drawn illustration into your book? What's the best way of doing it without losing the quality?
Okay, I would personally scan it and then put it into Photoshop. And what you can do with Photoshop, if you find that the scan washes out the colors, there's a couple of things to note. Is that the colors might not come as, by the time you print it on CreateSpace, I've been very happy. But if you're very, stuck on your design and the specific colors, the vibrancy of your design, you might not find that on CreateSpace. So there is some limitations with the printers itself. So what I would do, I would scan it and then put it in Photoshop. And if you find that it's washed out at that point, you can use the levels or adjustment layers to kind of make the colors more vibrant and pop out more. So I would do some post-editing.
Okay, so that's your tip, is sort of post-editing in Photoshop.
Right, so that's one thing. If you don't have a scanner, you can take a photo of it, and that's perfectly fine. Again, you can edit things. Can I ask you a question? What about outsourcing? Like because I don't want to use Photoshop. If I don't want to use Photoshop. The best thing to do is to take a photo of it and then go to a place like Fiverr and find someone who can do the work that you need done and then have them clean it up and prepare it for a book cover. I've
been working with some artists on Upwork, and they do some really good jobs. So I know a lot of people talk about Fiverr. There's a couple of other sites. I found Upwork there are some artists on there who are really, really good. And the great thing with Upwork is you can actually audition artists as well. You can say, please, could you just do like this one image, and I can see what you do with that. And then from there, you can find artists to work with without wasting a lot of money. Like on Fiverr, I know it can get expensive when you try out 10 different people and they all give you sort of really terrible designs. I found Upwork has been there are a lot of terrible designs on Upwork, but the great thing is you can audition them before you actually spend money on that. So I found some really, really good artists through Upwork. Sherry says Etsy as well. She's saying Etsy is a really good place to buy art. That's a really good tip, Sherry. There's some great artists on Etsy.
One other thing I would like to mention with designs, I know Jordan, he does all these designs himself. I don't know if you can see
his artist Patrick does them.
No, he does them.
No,
he does his artist does the cover.
I thought Patrick did
the interiors.
Oh, okay.
Right. So what he does, he actually traces them in Illustrator. So it takes them hours and hours to put these together. Yeah. And so another thing you can do is you can take if you have an illustration, you can maybe hire someone and you want to vectorize it. So what they'll do is they'll take your drawing and they'll recreate it in Illustrator, and it becomes a vector object.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it looks super clean, and you can scale it as much as you want. That's the beauty of vector objects. You can make it super small and make it super big, and it's going to look beautiful. And
Wendy says, if you want to do your own drawings, do you recommend a particular drawing tablet?
I don't use drawing tablets. I know everyone I hear uses Wacom.
Why don't you use a drawing tablet?
I don't even use a mouse, truth be told. I use the trackpad on my laptop.
Things as
right.
well.
I can't draw. I really can't draw. But yet.
I think Wacom's the way to go. Yeah, there's also
Wacom.
The Apple pen.
That's you got the iPad Pro. Right,
that's pretty awesome. Yeah. The iPad Pro, if you can afford it, that is the way to go. That's what Amanda's saying, the iPad Pro. But otherwise, I think the Wacom ones are pretty awesome. So
and Wacom, they work great with Photoshop. Photoshop can do pen pressure sensitivity, so you can get some really cool effects.
Yeah, so that's there's a lot of different ways you can get your illustrations into CreateSpace. And a lot of places, another thing is just maybe talk to your local university, because art students usually want some, the more you can help them out. And don't take up, always be nice to artists. This is one thing I really want to say: be nice to artists, foster artists, help them out, and don't just say, do it free, you'll get loads of exposure. Pay your artists. But you can usually find art students or being creative.
The college I went to, we had a career center, and people would call in all the time asking for students, and I'd actually started my freelance work by getting leads from there.
So our universities are another awesome place to find artists. Okay, we talked a bit about pricing. As I said, with pricing, I'm just going through the questions here. Is it better to price high and offer discounts, or keep a steady, reasonable price? I think I don't get too hung up on pricing, because it's like I said, if I'm buying a book for my child, price isn't what I'm looking at, especially if it's special, if it's for Christmas or a birthday. I'm not really going to look at price. I'm going to look at what the subject of the book is, and if it's something unique, if it's something that I've not seen before, or that I think my child needs, and I'm like, they need this book, I'm going to buy it, whether it's $10 or $18. So I don't think price is the big factor if your book is unique. Now, if you're just doing, and I know Art answered it in another thread, and he said, well, if you're doing a coloring book and you're just doing mandalas, there are a million mandala coloring books, then it might come down to price. Or if it's a notebook or something like that, price might be more relevant. But if your book is unique, you can probably price it anywhere that is reasonable, sort of between the $11 and $20 mark, because if your book's unique, you're the only place. And think about all the people on Amazon. There are people who think about all the high-end boutiques, and just how all these businesses like Chanel and Louboutin and all of these places stay in business. They stay in business because there are people with big pockets on Amazon. So don't always price everything for the lowest the lowest prices. You might maybe you'll get mass sales, but
especially if there's not a whole lot of competition in your niche.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we come back to niches, and really thinking, especially if you're in if you're in this for what you love, then you've just got to find what other people will love in it too. But if you're in this just for money, then write your books to niches, like really focus before you even start. Identify some popular niches that are underserved and hit those niches. And you can use, I mean, our software does a lot of niche analysis, but I mean, you can use all kinds of different things to look at niches. Like you can use Facebook audience insights. That's like one of the most powerful research tools I find is Facebook audience insights. And also what's great about audience insights, it tells you demographics like household income. Yeah, so you really understand, you really can see, okay, people do have money to spend on things like this. You can actually look at who spends money on things like books as well. So you could actually target people who buy a lot of books. So there's a lot of ways of reaching people. Cool. Okay, we've talked for 40 minutes, so I think that's probably more than enough. We just really wanted to say hi to you guys, so you could sort of, oh, there's Bea. Hi, Bea. How are you doing? And she says intersecting 2 to 3 niches. Yeah, that definitely is a thing of finding, and really, I mean, sub-niching and intersecting niches it's kind of the same thing. Like you find one niche and then you just add to that. So I mean, you might say, okay, it's a children's book about penguins, it's a children's book about LGBT penguins, it's a children's book about Christian penguins, and you'd start adding all these particular niches in there. So yeah, that's an awesome tip, is like think about intersecting those niches and putting them together like that. So okay, we've talked 40 minutes. I think that's super long enough. If you would like to find out more about what we do, one thing I would really recommend you check out is our group Curate, our course Curate, which is at, oh my gosh, if I can even type, it's at curate.blueskysuite.com, and that is our course on just everything: marketing, CreateSpace, putting together like books for places like Teachers Pay Teachers, Gumroad, other platforms. There's a lot on there. So if you've enjoyed this, you'd like to learn more about what we do check that out. Otherwise, keep posting in the group, keep enjoying the group, sharing in the group. I love what is going on in this group. It's pretty awesome. It's really exciting to see how much it's growing and how much everyone's helping each other. We really enjoy that. Oh, Karen says, super, I wanted to give someone your course link. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Guys, also, we have something cool in the works for Christmas. So last year we put out Curate. Karen, it's curate.blueskysuite.com. Last year at Christmas time, we did something crazy, and we made a course that was an advent calendar, and we did one video every day up to Christmas Day. We're working on something for this year. It's not going to be exactly the same as Curate, but it's going to be awesome. We're putting together our thoughts now, and we'll be announcing it very soon. So put some time aside on your calendar if you think you might be interested in that. We're going to be talking a lot about marketing. That's one thing I can say. All right, guys, have an awesome Sunday. Thank you for taking the time to join us. You guys stayed with us the whole time. That's really nice of you. I hope it was some useful information. Do feel free to message me if you have any questions, or post them in the group. Keep helping each other out. We love you guys. Thank you for being part of the group. Have a good afternoon. Bye.